This program deals with themes of an adult nature and is intended for a mature audience.
The show is sponsored by Dragonos Castle, South Wales, one of the most haunted castles in Wales. For more information on ghostly and ghastly events, including Fright Nights, all-night investigations and hen parties, visit www.mosthauntedcastle.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
They've landed.
You're in the right place. Online, on the web, and on air. All over the world.
Talk Radio.
You hear us, we hear you.
How are you, everybody? It's my name's Suzanne,
And I'm Steve.
and we're here on the KTPF talk show, which is Keeping the Paranormal Friendly, on www.ktpf.co.uk. And we've got an interesting show for you tonight. Hopefully you'll enjoy it as well. We've got a returning guest coming on by the name of Amy Vickers, but more about her in a moment. Those of you who are new to the show, just to let you know that we started this back in 2007. The talk show started back in 2012 to become a chat room with a difference. It's a relaxed show, inviting you to engage in live friendly discussions with our special guests and various investigating groups that we have on from time to time from around the world. With variety of topics from cryptozoology to UFOs, while encouraging them and you to share information, advice, and most importantly, friendship. Remember, collaboration, not competition. So, as I said before, although we concentrate more on the investigating side of the paranormal, this show incorporates a wide spectrum within this fascinating subject. So, if you have any questions, you can use the live interactive chat room where we will ask your questions for you to our guest, or you can call in and ask them for yourself on our phone line, which is 0844 414 3982. Nearly forgot it then. Later on, we'll have the rundown of this month's, what's left of this month's events for Halloween from paranormalevents4you.com. And I'd like to say hello to everybody in the chat room at the moment, and also those that will be listening on radio replay. And we've got to say a regular hello to Robert Bray and Chris Mack. So, guys, hello to you all. There's more people watching than there is in the chat room, as usual, but that's fine if that's what you want to do. As I said, don't forget, this is a relaxed show. None of your Radio 1 here. It's more Talk Sport meets I don't know, Manchester Online, maybe. Oh yeah, paranormal. We were actually vaguely mentioned on Talk Sport, weren't we, babe?
We was.
Due to we can talk about it now, seeing as it's come to light. Thinking about it. It was supposed to have been a private thing that was supposed to have been done, but it's now been on TalkSport, hasn't it, Steve?
Well, since they put it on TalkSport, yes.
Yes.
In
the local paper.
Having said that, it also gives us the chance to put a couple of things right.
Yes.
One,
yes.
We are not
a spiritualist group.
Spiritualist group.
2, we are not based in Drawsden.
No.
And 3, the gadget that was on the physio table did not fly off the table and smash.
It was an EM pump, and that obviously vibrates, and that took it off the fitness couch, and the battery cover come off. And that's all that happened. It didn't fly, and I don't think you actually said it on the show, but it did in the paper. The two-pronged machine was actually a pair of dowsing rods.
Yes.
But
just a couple of little bits.
Yeah. But having said that, we did pick up on people that weren't happy.
Yes, with the name change.
The place was absolutely full of vortexes.
Yeah, which you had to shut down.
I think I shut about 50 down that night.
Yeah.
Well, I did that on our first visit in one room.
Yeah.
Lightened the atmosphere in another room because that was absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
And when we went back to actually set up the video and everything, there was a load open in the other room.
Yeah, nothing was actually caught on video, unfortunately.
Not
The
not
pitch.
that we know of. I've still got to give it
Oh
to
yeah,
Andy.
you still got to have a look at it.
I've still got to give it to
The
Andy.
pitch itself is covered in ashes, which is a thing these days, isn't it?
Yeah, you've actually got people's ashes on the pitch.
So
Yeah, it's you wouldn't have known it was us either.
no, you were.
And you only would have known it was us if you read the article that was up on Facebook, because it actually mentions shadow seekers, but it calls us a spiritualist group.
Yeah, which we're not. So, but if it helped in some way, shape, or form, if they feel as though they need to revert back to their original name, hopefully they'll start winning goals.
Hopefully, but I think it has more to do with their defence than spirit, to be honest.
Yeah.
But that's the way things are. While we was out on saying that, while we was out on the pitch, just me and Andy, we were getting up at one end at the goal. We were getting EMF readings on the K2, which obviously shouldn't have been there because there's nothing there to give EMF in front of the goal, and both me and Andy at different times both saw spirit lights actually on the pitch.
Yeah, your mic's not coming over very, very sharp at the moment.
So. Not very sharp. How's that?
You were very, very. Hopefully they can hear you.
I will do a modern day rock and roll group and swallow the mic.
Yeah, it might be an idea. See, even they said better.
Yeah, there you go.
So this is it. But and says sorry. Shall I call you spirit seekers? No.
Don't you dare. There was another group called Spirit Seekers.
Yes, there was.
I don't know whether they're still going or not.
No, they're not.
I haven't heard from them for a while.
They're not. They were a naughty group, as far as I was concerned.
They were what?
I was heard they were a naughty group.
Oh, right, okay.
Residual energy forms hundreds of fans there every week. Possible. Possible, because it was a very low division club, wasn't it?
It's Northern Premier League conference
sort of
thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So
it's not. They're not actually in the football league as such.
No. Right. So just to say hello to those that are in the chat room. As I say, there's more listening than there is actually in the chat room at the moment. There's Ace Paradox. Hi to you. And obviously there's Ghost Rider 2873 and Andy Mercer. So not many on, but quite a few actually listening in, which is good. And remember what I said, guys. This is a relaxed show, okay? So it's just a group of people chatting away and hopefully learning some new things. Right, okay. So as I said to you before, we've got Amy Vickers coming on the show. Amy is CEO of the Star Child Project, an organisation that has been investigating an unusual skull known as the Star Child Skull since 1999. Amy first heard of the skull when Lloyd Pye, former head of the Star Child Project, gave a lecture about it at the university where she was an archaeologist and law student. Archaeology and law student. She was so intrigued by the unique specimen that she quit university and moved to America to be part of the project. So we'll be talking to her later on, but with more details. And she's got a few things that she needs to update us with. Okay, and she's also told me that she's going to be announcing something on the show. We are the first radio she's announcing it to. So.
Excellent.
Okay, well, first talk show.
And yes, the Skyside Chill will do.
Oh, the Skyside Chill. Yeah, that sounds good. That does.
Yeah, let's have a Skyside Chill.
Yeah. So, right. So, what's it? Northern Mid-Table Sandwich Makers League. Right. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to hand you over to Steve, who's going to sort you out with this week's observations. Are you ready, Steve?
I am ready. Okay, ghost of Lord Mayor captured on CCTV footage from inside medical building, claim paranormal experts. Once again, we have some experts. A team of paranormal experts claim their video footage shows ghostly orbs. Does this spooky footage show a mischievous antics of a long-dead Lord Mayor? Paranormal experts believe it does and claim it is proof that the ghost exists after CCTV cameras caught evidence of a spook playing around. A team from Sefton Paranormal Investigators captured the image while on tour of the Liverpool Medical Institute last month. Made up of members of the investigation crew and members of public, the team noticed several spooky happenings after watching back their footage. Pamela Robinette from Sefton Paranormal Investigators said the walls are covered with portraits of past significant bodies, and we started by asking for people in the portraits to step forward toward the device. After calling for Richard Caton, Lord Mayor of Liverpool, in 1909, the alarms went off. We continued to direct question Richard Caton for 2 hours and have documented evidence of 17 occurrences in which the REM pod was set off. First up was the sight of a ghostly orb at the foot of the main staircase, darting across the room, just in front of an unwitting team member. Next up was the infrared light that was pulled off in the library, while those who took part also claimed to have heard an unexplained voice or breath recorded in a secure room in the historic building. But perhaps most terrifying clip is an unexplained voice or breath that the team caught. Pamela said we captured a strange light anomaly that appeared within shot and disappeared in shot. We eliminated it as dust because of its brightness and intensity, and if it was a bug, there would have been a specific flight path and shape, but in this case there was not. The LMI, which opened in 1837, is one of the oldest medical societies in the world and has long had a reputation of one of the most haunted buildings in the UK. Now, goings on have to be reported in the Victorian Lecture Theatre and main staircase of the library. Now, I had a look at the video that's on there, and yes, it is a nice bright orb as such, but it does fly one direction and then change direction. So I would say it isn't dust. It could still possibly be insect, but obviously I don't have the opportunity to examine it properly. And the other thing they mentioned there is about an IR light being moved off. Yeah, and I have one question: why do you have an IR light pointing at a camera? Because all you're going to get is flare.
Yeah.
So why put it there in the first place?
This is it.
It just does not make sense. But there you go. We all do it differently, don't we, Susie?
Yep. So while Steve's getting the next observation up, please remember we're beholden to live streams. So if you have any problems, just recharge, or rather restart the application again, and we'll do the same thing if you lose us. Okay. So I'm trying to find out whether you can hear us, but I'm not getting any reply from anyone.
Speak to me.
So if you can speak to us, I'd appreciate it.
There's your next one.
So if anyone's out there that can hear us, yes, good.
I'm actually hearing it in my headphones, so
that's all right then.
This one's come from phantomsandmonsters.com. I found this one.
Okay.
A creepy blue figure in Olympia, WA Forest. This is what it said. It said, I received this interesting photo from a reader. Hi, Lon. My family and I recently went on a trip to Olympia, WA. I'm not sure what that stands for, but I'm sure somebody will tell me. We're on a forest trail. There were 5 of us there, and it was about 2 in the afternoon. 4 of us went ahead while my sister stopped to take some nature pics of the path behind us, as the forest was very beautiful. She doesn't like getting in her nature pictures, so she waited for us all to get out of the way. So she double-checked to make sure no one was in shot, and when she took it, however, when she looked at it later, she found this. In the distance, you can see a figure in blue standing at the end of a path. The figure seems to be holding either a woodcutter's axe or some kind of handheld scythe. A very creepy thing is that it looks like it's missing its left arm. Note, this has been checked, and he's looked over the image, and it doesn't appear to be an app-enhanced manipulation. What do you guys think? Well, I'm asking you as well. What do you think to the picture? There is a rumour, of course, that these blue people actually come from the centre of the earth.
Oh. And Olympia, WA is actually Olympia, Washington.
Washington.
Aye.
I see. Would that be Washington State or Washington?
Just in America somewhere.
It's either way. Tis in the US of A.
Notice they pinch a lot of other people's names: Birmingham, Manchester, etc.
They do indeed. Hello, Shad.
Whoever Shad is.
I don't know, but I just went there and I see a Shad. There we go. There is the next one. Ghost Adventurers. Episode Zozo Demon aired on the 18th of October. The Travel Channel's hit series Ghost Adventures returned this month to begin its 10th season. This Saturday, being last Saturday obviously, the 18th, Ghost Adventures crew heads to Oklahoma to investigate a home that is terrorized by a demonic entity. The Travel Channel posted on their website on Thursday. On the third episode of the season, 10, GAC travels to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, to explore a private residence that is haunted by a demon. Zach Baggins, Nick Groff and Aaron Goodwin will lock themselves inside the house and attempt to conjure up a demon called Zozo by communicating with it through a Ouija board. The first report of Zozo was in France in 1816. A young girl was using a Ouija board when she became possessed by multiple demons, including Zozo. I'm in a very, very scary house. I was inside the home in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, where a man named Darren was using a Ouija board to contact the demon. I don't even like to say the name, but it begins with Z. After he began conjuring the demon, he saw his daughter lift up by an unseen force while she was screaming and kicking, where this entity threw her underneath the staircase. This was just one of many traumatizing events that plagued the family, host Zach Braggin said. Ghost Adventures crew have investigated over 100 locations all over the world. In 9 seasons of the show, Zach, Nick and Aaron have helped to provide answers to people that have witnessed the unexplained and unexperienced. Phenomenal. Now, what I've got to say here is, come on guys, we've all seen the Ouija board, the rubbish that comes out, and all you're doing is making it worse. I mean, for a start, what idiot would ask for a demon to come through in the first place?
No.
I mean, come on. And all you're doing is making everybody think that the board itself is evil, and it's not. It's just a tool, and I just don't get why anybody would ask for a demon to come through.
No, I don't either.
It's just
It's a bit close to Zuzu though, out of Ghostbusters.
wasn't Zozo in
What?
the Poltergeist, the next one, second one,
I can't remember.
with the black boy and the what's
You
it?
think Exorcist?
Exorcist, yeah.
No, that was Pazuzu.
That's Pazuzu, was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Lost connection. We'll get back, Andy. So we've not lost it.
How can you say he's lost connection and still be connected enough
I don't know.
to tell us? But thank you anyway. Right, I hope he comes back quick, because this one's probably right up his street, and he could probably actually call in and give his opinion on these next two. So if you're there, Andy, let us know, because I would like your opinion on this as well.
Right. Okay. Can I have the link, please?
There be the link. Yeah, well, this is at your end as well. Vatican City was Hindu temple.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. All religions are one and are derived from the Vedic Sanatana Dharma. A famous historian, P.A. Oak, claimed that the word Vatican originally came from the Sanskrit word Vatika, that Christianity came from the Sanskrit words Krishna Niti, ethics of Krishna is what that actually means, or the way of Krishna, and that Abraham came from the Sanskrit word Brahma. He further claims that both Christianity and Islam originated as distortions of Vedic beliefs. The Vatican Church compound, shaped as a Shiva Linga, on the link there you can compare the two pictures, one of the Vatican and one of a Shiva Linga. You can see a striking similarity between the shapes of the Shiva Linga and the Vatican Church compound. Further, if we look closer, we even see a perfect tripundra and binda incorporated into their design.
Mm.
The word Vatican itself is derived from Vatica with a K or Vatica with a C, which means Vedic cultural or religious center. In Sanskrit, the word Vatika is used to describe a place such as Ananda Vatika, Ashrama Vatika, Yagna Vatika, etc. Such words and discoveries prove that the Vatican was Hindu or Vedic religious center before it was forced to accept Christianity in the 1st century AD. Also, according to some reports, Shiva Linga was found during the excavations and is kept for display at the Gregorian Etruscan Museum in Rome. The details are on the site there. Hindustan indeed is Virat. The Shiva Linga is exhibited in the Gregorian Museum, Vatican City. This has the most important Etruscan collection in Rome, starting with an early Iron Age object from the 9th century BC. The Encyclopedia Britannica mentions under the heading Etruria or Etruscan that between the 2nd and 7th centuries BC, northern Italy was known as Etruria. During archaeological excavations, many such meteoritic stones mounted on carved pedestals, i.e. Shiva Lingas, on bases, have been discovered in Italy. The Shiva Linga was dug up from Vatican City itself. Many more must be lying under the Vatican's massive walls and numerous cellars.
Mm.
Now,
And he's not there. He's like screaming at his computer at the moment, so maybe he'll come back later with that one.
maybe you can come back and tell us.
Yep.
The links will still be on there, so you should be able to get them. This one is actually linked in a way,
Right.
because we're going back to the
Time is fleeting a bit.
the Vedic human and animal cloning in ancient India. Cloning is the scientific process of creating an exact replica of any living being, such as a clone has the same face, same body, same structure, and same genetic code. This means DNA of a clone is the same as the DNA of the living being that was used to create it. When Dr. P.V. Vartik mentioned in the Riga Veda about this miracle of human and animal cloning, he told his findings to the Augustus audience of scientists and doctors in May 1976, but everybody laughed, saying that the modern science cannot do it. How was it possible for the Vedic people? However, after 21 years, animal cloning was done successfully in 1997 with the sheep. I hit the wrong button. I shut down there. But basically, what this article is saying is that the Vedic people were actually doing the same thing all that time ago.
Mm.
They actually did a horse. They've reference to it as that they made their grandparents young again. So basically, but they're saying they had the same skills and everything.
Bloody hell.
And this is a time when, obviously, before Christ, we're talking a long, long time.
There's so much out there that's supposed to have been done before it's been done. It's
Yeah, well, we're talking about in the 9th century
Yeah.
BC. Yeah.
So, you know, so it makes me think that maybe technology is going backwards more than forwards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, is that your last one?
And that was actually my last one.
Was it?
Yeah,
Oh.
the people that were actually doing the clinic were the Rubius brothers.
Mm.
I mean, that part there is only a little bit of the whole thing. There's loads of stuff on there about it and all the different things that they've done.
Right, I see. So, I wonder if Andy's managed to get back to us yet.
He can. I'm being a Buddhist. I think. I think
No,
he
I don't
is.
think he's a Buddhist.
I know he has the Buddhist beads when he's working.
I can't remember what he is, but he's something.
He's a Krishna.
Yeah, something like that, I think. But, you know. Right, so as I said to you, we've got Amy coming on the show, Amy Vickers. She's been on a couple of times and talked to us about the Star Child project. Something that has been a little bit conflicted now and again because some people believe that it is human and that it can't be alien-like or anything like that. But she's going to tell us about it, and she'll briefly remind you of how it came about, and then she's going to update us on a few things. And as I say, she's also told me that she's we will be the first show where we have talked at all about the stuff she's about to tell us. Okay,
Yeah.
and
I do like it when we get updates on things like this.
yeah, it is good because then we follow it through, don't we?
Yes.
Really, we see where it
Find
out where it started and see what's going on as well.
Yeah, I mean, last time we spoke to her, she was saying about all the many different strands of DNA.
Yeah.
Far more than we as humans have got.
Yeah, and one of her colleagues last time actually went on record to say that it was not human. So there you go.
That is something for a scientist to categorically state that something is not human.
This is it. So what we're going to do is we're going to get hold of Amy, and hopefully she'll be ready for us, and talk about this and catch up with things. So here goes. Let's give her a call. Let's hope the connection's good. Normally is, isn't it?
It is.
So, let's see.
Connection is normally very good.
I can't hear anything. The hub is frozen in time. Oh.
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable.
She's unavailable. I don't know. So, hold on. Let me try something.
Now, if you guys that's frozen, the best thing you can do is come out and go back in again.
Let me see.
Are we going to do it? Are we?
Yeah, we're going to do it. Let's see. Let's see if they're actually getting the promos. Then take it from there.
Yes.
Perhaps that might do it.
Yes, they're getting the promos now.
Right, okay, so we seem to... Where'd you go? Right, okay, let's go back out because I'm not getting in now for some reason. Houston, we have a problem. Some people were getting it, so... mind you, Amy's not actually there at the moment. So let's see. Okay, we're back. Are you back with us?
Well, my guy just said he's lost the promos again.
Right, okay.
Aha! Says
Yes.
Andy.
Oh, good.
Yes, everybody's back in.
Right. Well, we're having problems trying to get hold of Amy at the moment, and
Have a try again.
we'll try again, see if she's
Give her
available.
a beep beep.
Perhaps she'll remember to put her clocks back.
Yes.
That's an idea, isn't it?
Yes. Did you guys all remember to put the clocks back last night?
So, either that or me.
The person whom you're trying to
No.
reach is currently unavailable.
Oh no! What are we going to do? She's not there. When did she put her clocks back?
We're gonna chat for another hour and then get her again.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do something. So, but
And
Oh,
good
she's
evening,
got-
Viscount.
I missed the Hindu Catholic stuff. Right. Okay. Let's just bring that. Let me see.
You missed the Hindu Catholic stuff.
There you go. There's the link.
Yeah, the link to that. If you wish, I can go back and read them through.
So
Because
yeah, go on, read
I did cut the last one short because
Yeah,
I
go
thought
on
we
then.
was running through. Okay.
And the cloning.
And the cloning. There we go. I shall bring that back.
If
for you.
Amy gets to us, then we'll come back to it a
And
bit later.
I'll bring that back for you, and Susie can do a bit of trimming later. Got you, baby. So we're not saying it twice. Hang on.
Bless you. Achoo.
There we
As
go.
well as we've missed it and missed it. Hey! Because
Are they having a go at you on there?
no. I nearly read what you said though. But I'm just wondering whether she's it said she's online.
Yep.
I wonder whether she's put her clocks back.
Right, do you want me to read this?
Yeah, go on. Read
Maybe.
it again.
Here we go. Vatican City was a Hindu temple. All religions are one and are derived from the Vedic Santana Dharma. Famous historian P.N. Oak claimed that the word Vatican originally came from the Sanskrit word of Vatika, spelt with a K, that Christianity came from the Sanskrit words Krishna Niti, or ethics of Krishna, or way of Krishna, and the word Abraham came from the Sanskrit word Brahma. He further claims that both Christianity and Islam originated from distortions of the Vedic beliefs. Now, the Vatican Church compound is shaped like a Shiva Linga. Compare the two pictures on the link that I give you there, and you can see a striking similarity between the two shapes. A Shiva Linga and the Vatican Church compound. Further, if you look closer, we even see a perfect Tripundra and Bindi incorporated into their design. The word Vatican itself is derived from the Sanskrit word Vatika with a K or Vatika with a C, which means Vedic cultural or religious centers. In Sanskrit, the word Vatika is used to describe a place such as Ananda Vatika, Ashrama Vatika, etc., etc.
Can you put the link back?
Can I put the link back?
Yes.
1 second. I will get the link.
For those of you who are listening in and just caught us, we some of the listeners had a bit of a problem.
So we have decided to do a rerun
yes,
and let people get the bit they
and we're
missed.
hoping that Amy hasn't forgot to put her clocks back.
There we go. That's the link for the one I'm doing now. Where was I? Yes, etc., etc. Such words and discoveries prove that the Vatican was a Hindu Vedic religious center before its incumbent was forced to accept Christianity from the 1st century AD. Also, according to reports, a Shiva Linga was found during the excavation and is kept for display at the Gregorian Etruscan Museum in Rome. The details are on the web page there. Hindustan indeed was Virat. This Shiva Linga is exhibited in the Gregorian Etruscan Museum, Vatican City. This has the most important Etruscan collection in Rome, starting with early Iron Age objects from the 9th century BC. The Encyclopedia Britannica mentions under the heading Etruria and Etruscan that between the 2nd and 7th century BC, northern Italy was known as Etruria. During archaeological excavations, many such meteoric stones mounted on carved pedestals, also known as Shivalingas, on bases, have been discovered in Italy. This Shivalinga was dug up from Vatican City itself. Many more must be lying buried under the Vatican City's massive walls and numerous cellars. Okay, that's the one about the Vatican City. And here we go with the one about cloning.
Coming out with big words and pronouncing them as well.
I'm trying.
Where's Steve gone? Where's the real Amy Vickers gone?
Andy says, do you guys know what the lingram represents? Unfortunately, no. And
you're more than welcome to contact us.
Yeah, and Ghost Rider said I've been cloned. Right, here we go with the cloning one. Human and animal cloning in ancient India. Cloning in the scientific process of creating an exact replica of a living being, such as a clone, has the same face, body structure, genetic code, and this means the DNA of clone is the same as the DNA of the living person or being that was used to create it. Clone can be created from a single cell, and thus thousands and millions of replicas can be created from a single living being by transfusing his/her living cell in an embryo. Another living species. In Vedic age, cloning of animals was done by sages to clone the species of powerful horses and productive cows. Ancient Indian process of a horse from another horse, or a cow from the skin of a cow, and other achievements like parthenogenesis, test tube baby, etc., are also reported in ancient literature in India. When Dr. P.V. Vartik found mentioned in Rig Veda about this miracle of human and animal cloning, he told his findings to the Augustus audience of scientific and doctors during May 1976. But everybody laughs, saying, if the modern science cannot do it, how is it possible for the Vedic people? However, after 21 years, animal cloning was done successfully in 1997, when a lamb was produced from udder of a sheep, which is part of the skin. Therefore, the Vedic principle of cloning appears correct. Below are some of the stories on cloning from Vedic age. In Rig Veda, Rubas are mentioned as brothers. Ruba, Vija, and Vibhu are brought youthfulness to old parents. Their father was old, but they were cloned young to bring back the youth of aging parents. They even managed to bring back their lost skills. They must have used Ayurvedic recipes to bring back youthfulness. So much literature about such recipes exists even today, but is neglected. Additionally, they also created a cloned horse and a cow. According to Dr. Vartik, these experiments are done about 25,000 years ago. Cloning of Rubas is mentioned by 7 different sages in 7 different verses of the Rig Veda. All of these sages were from different generations, thus depicting that such a technology exists over a long period of human life, and Rubas brothers were famous for a prolonged period, proving greatness of their work.
Tony Barder, I think Andy's saying.
Pardon?
He's saying the linga or lingam represents the bit or shiva whose mouth that reproduces life. Rig Veda, he says.
Right.
And Viscount says, they say there is human cloning that went on in Area 51. Is it true? He doesn't know. Dave Lloyd said, there are clones working off planet, it says. 25 years.
25,000 years.
Yeah. Viscount says, wow. John says he's a clone. We'll have
That wouldn't surprise me.
So Shiva, okay. Vader, yes, Shiva's pen in. Okay, so that's what he says. I'm not sure where Amy is, to be honest with you. She's not normally late.
No, she's not. Is she still not with us?
No, she isn't. I'm going to try ringing her again. Unsure about this, to be honest with you. I could tell you what she's told me, but she doesn't seem to be there.
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable.
She's not there. So that's what the lingam represents, life giving. Okay, right. So, well, since we're waiting for Amy to hopefully turn up, going to let you know about last night.
Yes.
We was at the Rotunda last night for charity for Mary Curie.
It was for the Mary Curry.
And although not much happened, we had a few weird things happen, didn't we? And I'm still waiting for an email to explain it, to be honest with you. 4 people, for some unknown reason,
all broke their teeth.
All broke their teeth in the same group. So I don't know what happened there. But they say they've got a theory, but they have a feeling that the place used to be a dentist, and all in one visual.
Yeah,
that's weird.
We did ask the people that were local,
and they said they wasn't sure.
And they said they didn't know of a dentist that would ever be in there.
So,
yes, teeth,
yeah, broke a tooth. 4 people broke a tooth in one vigil group.
Yep, we had one little girl that followed Jack round all night.
Yes, yeah. Spirit girl.
The spirit girl, that is.
Yeah.
She seemed to think he resembled her grandfather.
So, and
yeah, but the good thing about that was that
hello.
We actually got him to actually reach out and feel her essence in front of him.
Hi, Amy.
Hello, I am so sorry. This is completely my fault. The clock I was looking at was the only one in the house that I must not have changed yet for the shift in daylight saving. So I'm so desperately sorry. I hope I haven't messed you up.
No, of course you haven't. We was just trying to fill some time. I was thinking maybe you haven't changed your clocks. Oh dear, I was getting a bit worried. I thought, I hope she's remembered.
No. I've been. That's the worst part. I've been really looking forward to it. I'm very, very sorry, but I am here now, and I'm very much.
Apart from being flustered, how are you yourself, Amy? How are you?
Well, I'm obviously feeling the loss of Lloyd Pye still. He was such a key part of our organisation, but. Yeah. No, we've got some really exciting things happening, so it's good to be moving forward with them.
Brilliant. And just for those that are new in the chat room, can you please just give us the rough story of how the Star Child project started and what the skull's about?
Absolutely. Well, the Star Child skull is a highly unusual 900-year-old skull. It was found in Mexico in the 1930s by a tourist, and it was just kept in a private collection up until 1999, and that was when it was willed to Melanie Young, who at the time was a neonatal nurse. She knew a great deal, obviously, about skulls and cranial deformities and what a child's skull should look like. So she looked at this very unusual skull and thought, this is something that requires further investigation. I'm going to make sure that happens. So she got in touch with Lloyd Pye, who was known for, among other things, his research into unusual skulls and pre-human skulls. And she and Lloyd and Melanie's husband, Ray, teamed up, and they started what was then just an informal group called the Star Child Project.
Yeah.
Now, since then, the Star Child Project has arranged research at independent labs in America, in Canada, in the UK. We've worked with experts literally all over the world. The skull research has been covered everywhere from Japan to Australia to here. The book about the Star Child skull has been translated into half a dozen languages, Chinese, Polish, and whatnot. It has really become sort of an underground global phenomenon trying to figure out what this really unusual skull is. And for those of you who've never seen the Star Child skull and don't know what I'm talking about, it looks vaguely like a human skull, except that almost everything about it is not quite the way it should be in a human skull. The bone is much thinner and lighter, but much, much harder than normal human bone. The eye sockets are extremely shallow. The holes where your optic nerve is supposed to go through in the eye socket is in a different place, and it's a different shape. The face of the being is radically different. The shape of the brain inside the skull is very much different. And it just looks to a lot of people like it could fit in the skull of a grey alien.
Yeah.
And that's what gets a lot of people very excited about it.
Right.
Now, I'm not an expert on grey aliens. I've never met one personally. I've certainly not studied their skulls, so I couldn't give you a definitive answer on that. But
No.
I can tell you that we've taken this to some of the top experts in the world on cranial deformation, and they have said, one of them, Dr. Ted Robinson, is on the record saying, this cannot be a human skull, this is not a human deformity, this is not like anything I've ever seen before. This is something else and something that requires further investigation. So we've gone from that, we've done DNA tests, we've done just about every test that we can afford to do on it. And at every step of the way, we found things in this skull that should not be present in a human skull, and that includes the DNA. We've only got very preliminary DNA testing done on it so far, but that DNA has found DNA that not only is not found in the human genome, but it's not found in the genome of any creature anywhere that's had its DNA sequenced on planet Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as I should stress, these are very preliminary results, and it's less than 1% of the DNA that we've recovered with those preliminary results. I mean, it's hardly a set-in-stone thing, but it's still very, very exciting.
Yeah, I imagine. So, the updates that you want to give us at the moment, obviously there's been so much going on, isn't there? What's this, the FOXP2 gene? What is that all about?
Right, well, I'm going to jump into the deep end and be technical with you here, so just bear with me, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to shoot them at me.
Okay.
But our bodies are made up of two types of DNA. There's the mitochondrial DNA, which is pretty much similar in everybody's body. It's the one that comes from your mother. It's the how to make energy, how to get stuff done DNA. And then there's the nuclear DNA, which is what makes all of us who we are. It's what makes us unique. Now, we've found odd things in both parts of the Star Child's DNA, but the one that's the most exciting for us at the moment is in the nuclear DNA, and it's called the FOXP2 gene.
Right.
Now, this is not just an everyday ordinary gene. This is a super gene. It's the gene that's responsible for things like aspects of your brain development, your motor skills, most of your organs developing, and critically, it's the gene that's been identified as the thing that allows humans to speak in a way that nothing else on the planet can. If you're born with damage to your FOXP2 gene, now it's very, very hard to survive any damage to your FOXP2 gene because it's so critical. But the couple of places where it can be damaged and you can survive it, those people are generally not able to speak. I mean, this gene is so critical that having that gene damaged at all stops you being able to speak and to communicate the way that we can. So when you see an unusual FOXP2 gene, right away you're thinking, right, this is going to have a different way of speaking than the way that we speak. But it goes beyond that in the Star Child skull. Across all humans, your FOXP2 gene is basically identical. It is so critical, it's so important, that everything that it does, it has to do the same in all of us. We've all got to have a brain. We've all got to have lungs. You know, if there's something wrong with this gene, you can survive one or two tiny things being wrong with it, but you're surviving. You're not right. Your body isn't working the way it ought to be. Well, in the Star Child skull's FOXP2 gene, we've only recovered part of it, but we've found 56 things that are different from the way they ought to be in a human. Now, that is just not possible. You can survive 1, 2, at the outside 3 things. We've got 56 so far, and we don't even have the complete gene yet. So this is hugely exciting. We don't even understand what this means yet, other than to say, if a human cannot survive having this many things wrong with their FOXP2 gene, this being survived. We know it did. It grew teeth. It ground those teeth down with use. It wasn't just born. It lived long enough to grind those teeth down. If it survived with a FOXP2 gene that we can't survive with, that must mean it's not one of us. This is something else, something different, and something that we should all be very excited about.
Wow. So, you've got this skull. Who found the skull originally?
Well, unfortunately, we don't have the name of the girl that found it. It was a teenage girl that was on holiday in Mexico with her family.
Yeah.
She found the skull. This was way back in the 1930s, before we had the sort of border control that we have now.
Yeah.
She went off exploring in some mine tunnels. She found a couple of skeletons. She thought, oh, these are really cool. I'll take the skulls home with me as souvenirs, as you do.
Yeah.
And back then,
if you're weird,
obviously today we'd be horrified by something like that. But back then they lacked the cultural sensitivity, and she just was a teenager and just stuck them in a suitcase and didn't think twice about it.
So go on.
So I was just going to say, one of the skeletons that she found was a normal human, and the other one was this Star Child being. Now, she didn't give a very detailed description. She said it was misshapen, and that's her exact word, misshapen, and that it was somewhat smaller than the other skeleton. And we know that the other skeleton, we have its skull as well, and we can tell from the skull that it would have been about 5 foot tall. So for this being to be substantially shorter, we're thinking maybe 4 foot tall, and what you would consider misshapen. Now, that ties in a lot with the grey alien theory that some people have proposed. So that's really all we know about how it was found. It got passed from her to a couple of other people, and her name and the name of her family has been lost to us. We don't actually know who they are. We just have this story of her finding them and bringing them back to America. And the first name that we have that we can verify is Ray and Melanie Young, who are the skull owners. They're the people that realized for the first time back in the late 90s that this was not just an ordinary skull, and it should not just be sitting in someone's curio cabinet.
Right, Andy's asking that he recently saw a program talking about a skull from Mexico which tested to have a human mother and a non-human father. This was in this was a recent set of tests. Is this the same skull?
It probably is. In 2003, we were able to access an ancient DNA lab for the first time.
Yeah.
What you have to understand about DNA is it's got a shelf life. It's like a piece of meat. It's going to decay over time. So if you've got DNA that's fresh, like you go to the doctor and you have a swab taken out of your mouth, that DNA is really, really easy to sequence. You can tell what it is right away. But anything older than 50 years is significantly more difficult to work with. Now, the Star Child skull is 900 years old. So we're talking about something that's very difficult to recover the DNA, very difficult to work with, and you have to go to a specialist lab, and it costs a lot of money, and they get kitted out in the full space suits to do any work to make sure none of their DNA contaminates the sample.
Yeah.
They use really expensive equipment. I mean, it's a big production. When the Star Child skull first came to light, there were only about 6 labs in the world that could do that, and we couldn't get anywhere near them. So it wasn't until 2003 that we could actually get into one of these labs and start the testing. And that lab, although it was an ancient DNA lab, the technology is just going in leaps and bounds and leaps and bounds. In 2003, they were still using what's called primers. So that means when you're looking for the DNA, you can only look for one kind of DNA. You can only look for, in our case, human DNA. So we had the Star Child skull and the human skull that was found with it tested at the same time by the same lab using the same technology. And we did that so we'd have a control. The skull's the same age, they've been in the same environment. The DNA should be degraded to the same amount. So if you can find something in the human skull, we should be able to find it in the Star Child skull.
Yeah.
It just is, you couldn't ask for a better situation from a scientific standpoint. So we did the DNA testing on the human skull. We got the mitochondrial DNA and the nuclear DNA, the 2 types that I mentioned earlier. We got them first time plenty of DNA, no problems. We were all very excited, thinking, great, this means we won't have any trouble with the Star Child skull. So they started looking for human DNA in the Star Child skull. And they did find some mitochondrial DNA. That's the DNA that's very similar across all humans. It's, the workhorse DNA that just sort of does the job and doesn't really tell us who we are individually. We did find a little bit of that in the Star Child skull, but after 6 attempts, they could not find a shred of the nuclear DNA. Now, it should have been there. We had it in the human skull in abundance, very easy to recover. There's no reason to think that one skull would be degraded differently than the other. And yet, we could not, after 6 attempts, get any nuclear DNA at all from the Star Child skull. Well, the lab couldn't tell us on the record exactly what that meant, but anyone can figure out, A plus B. If the DNA is there, and it's not being picked up by a human DNA test, that must mean the DNA is not human or not close enough to human for this test to pick it up.
Yeah. So
it had found some of that mitochondrial DNA that gets passed down through the maternal line from mother to child, from child to mother. It's, as I said, it's just so similar across everybody.
Yeah.
This being's mitochondrial DNA had to breathe the same air as us, drink the same water, live in the same world. It would have to have all those same basic functions. So it makes sense that maybe its mitochondrial DNA would have to be quite a bit like ours. So we're now thinking, right, we've got DNA from the mother. We're pretty sure the DNA from the father should be there, but it's not coming up in the test. That must mean that it has a human mother and a non-human father. And for several years, that was the theory that we went with. That was what was explained everywhere. There were a couple of documentaries that picked up on that and that we presented that theory on. Now, since then, in 2010, we were able to get into a much more sophisticated DNA lab. And the best analogy I can think of is think of what your phone was like in 2003 and think of what your iPhone or whatever you use is like today. I mean, there's enormous difference in the level of technology just over that relatively short period of time.
Right. Well, we don't want to go on to the testing status as yet. Yeah.
Yeah,
and Steve's got a question for you here.
I've got a question, and Andy in the chat room has also got one for you. Although you may have just answered his one. His question is: do any of the tests show that the 2 skulls that were found are related in any way? And I would like to know how you stored the DNA that was found to make sure it wasn't contaminated.
Well, both very excellent questions. We have indeed done tests to see whether the 2 skulls are at all related. Now, obviously, we can't tell whether it was maybe an adoptive mother or an adoptive sibling or something like that, but from a DNA standpoint, they are not related at all. We've checked in every way we can, and there is no way that they are genetically related. Now, as far as storing the DNA goes, everything that is done in a DNA lab is filmed by that lab, and that's just standard practice now across the board. We have recently been able to get a hold of some of the footage from the 2003 testing that was done on the Star Child skull, and we're working on trying to get that into a format that we'll be able to put it out so that people can see it. But it's basically just unrecognizable people in white suits carrying test tubes from one side of the lab to the other. It's not really exciting stuff, but it's like in police work. It's a line of evidence where you have to be able to see and know where each piece is the whole time, start to finish. So Lloyd Pye was actually present while the sample was being cut and watched it being put into the solution that dissolved the bone to extract the DNA. And from that point on, it was under film and under lock and key the entire time. So, I mean, as much as it is possible to stop things from being contaminated, we absolutely are confident that that sample was kept to the best industry standard level of the time and that there wasn't any tampering with it. It was just a really unusual sample.
Yeah, because obviously the way things are kept now to how they was then, there's vastly improved, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's I mean, now every lab films everything. Back then, I believe we specially requested it, although the lab that we were working with was actually filming anyway. But now it's all of the equipment that they use is much more self-contained. So in every way, the systems now are better. They're less expensive. For all, it still costs quite a lot of money. It's computers doing more of the work and less man hours, which keeps the cost down. And that is a cost that keeps just sort of reducing over time, like everything. Think how expensive a flat screen was a few years ago compared to now.
Yeah, this is it. Now, obviously, this is a very exciting project. Oh, hello, we've lost her. Where's she gone? Let's try that again. She went and disappeared on me. Is she there? Where'd she go? All is forgiven. She's disappeared.
Yeah. Andy said he'd be back in 5
Yeah, I
The
know.
minutes.
person whom you're trying to reach.
I think he's talking to her.
I think he took her with her. Took him with her. So, call me back. Where are you? Has our computer just gone down? I don't know what happened there.
Somebody's trying to stop us from finding out about the Star Child skull.
You never know, do you? All this intrigue. But I don't know what happened there. We haven't gone down, no, we haven't.
No, we are still up and running.
Looks like we've lost her from her end. Hello?
Hello?
Is that Amy?
No, hold on, please. Amy!
We seem to have lost her halfway through conversation.
Hello, I'm so sorry about that. Can I call you back in just a moment?
Yes, certainly.
Yes.
She's going to call back in a moment. Now, this is very intriguing, isn't it? But I want to know why do this? You know what I mean? Why
bother at all?
why bother at all? So you know what I mean? It's
I think part of
You've
it's.
got to have
I think
passion, haven't you?
part of it's in the human genome.
yeah. You
We
know what I
want
mean?
to know what is. If you see something strange, you want
Yeah.
or want to pick it apart and find out who it was, what it was,
Yeah.
where it came from.
It's a bit like some people like to, for instance, take a fire apart just to see how it works, and then hope
Well,
they can put it back together again.
I
Or a bike. You know what I mean?
I did that to a clock once, and I ended up with too many cogs.
Well, this is it. It's a bit like that, isn't it? And but if it does turn out to be alien, then that's going to be quite something. Isn't it?
If they can substantially prove that it's not of this earth,
Yeah.
that is going to be can put
Hello?
shockwaves out there.
Hi, Amy. What happened there?
I think I was signed in on two computers, and so it got confused and hung up on me on this one. And
Oh, right. Okay. Right. We've got a bit of a feedback there. I don't know what's happening there.
Yeah, she's obviously got the show actually on.
Right. Okay. So we was talking about the DNA and everything. Now, just out of curiosity, we was just saying that it must be something really, really intriguing to do. Like somebody wanting to take a fire apart just to see how it works. You know, you come along and someone's taking apart this skull just to see what it's all about. But why would people want to test it in the first place? Was it a theory that it could be alien?
oh well, I'd have to put words in people's mouth here. I think I can tell you that Melanie has spoken to me many times
Yeah.
about the years that she spent working in the neonatal ward. Now this is working with babies that are premature
Mm-hmm.
or that are born with some really severe problem. It's like ICU for tiny, tiny newborn babies.
Yeah.
She very sadly watched a number of these babies not make it. And, as rewarding as a job like that is, when things go right, there are some poor children that just no matter what you do and how good the care is, there's just no way that you're ever really going to be able to help them.
No.
And she looked at this skull, and it is, just to look at it from the outside, it looks like a child's skull, like a 5 or a 6-year-old. It looks like a young person's skull. And she looked at that and looked at all of the deformities, all of the things about it that aren't the way they ought to be in a human skull, and saw the teeth and saw that they were worn down and thought, wow, there's no way that someone born like this should have been able to survive long enough to wear their teeth down. Yeah. There must be something about this skull, about its DNA, something in here that has the answer to how this being could survive. And if we could figure that out, maybe there's some, to stretch it to say like a magic bullet or a magic wand or something about it that one day we can leverage into a treatment that will maybe help other children to survive who can't survive at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the odds of being able to find something like that are millions to one. But if everybody that was faced with seemingly insurmountable odds just gave up and never tried, we wouldn't have cures to any of the things we have cures for today.
No.
So, I mean, it was a very optimistic thing, and it's something that we still really believe is a possibility and hope one day that we will be able to have some sort of medical benefit from the skull. But I know that although Melanie was aware of the alien phenomenon and thought, at some level that was a possibility, the real driving motivation to start the DNA testing and to start serious research was just one of how can we use whatever's special about this to help other children.
Yeah. Now, David Lloyd, he's met Lloyd Pye in the past, probably when he was on City Talk in Liverpool. And he said, when I talked to him briefly, he said it costs millions to find out beyond a shadow of a doubt that it is part alien. What is your views on that?
Well, at the time that Lloyd was saying that was absolutely the case. We had a quote from the lab back in 2010 for what is it going to cost us to get the full genome. And that's really what we're talking about, testing all of the DNA that exists in this skull.
Yeah.
And seeing what's different in its skull, in its DNA to our DNA. And that to do on an ancient relic like what we have does or did at the time cost millions, and it still can cost millions.
Yeah.
The problem with DNA research is there's always what you think it's going to cost, and sometimes that's exactly it, and sometimes it's even less expensive, and most of the time it's more expensive. But now, a couple of years later, the cost of the technology has come down a little bit, and what they can do with less information has improved. And now, instead of it costing, sort of $3 million minimum to get the full genome, we can start doing the research for as little as $250,000 a year. Now, it'll probably take us 3 years, so that's $750,000.
Yeah.
But that's less than a third of what we were thinking just a couple of years ago.
That's your current testing status, is it?
That is currently what it's going to cost us to get started. We're working right now to find an investor and to fundraise $250,000 to do the first year of testing. Now, at the end of that first year, we won't have the full genome. There will be more work that needs to be done, but we will know what direction it's heading in. The results we have so far are absolutely incredible, and that means that we need to make sure that these really are accurate results. We've got no reason to think that they're not, but you don't want to commit to doing 3 years of testing and then find out after a year that maybe it's not as amazing as we thought, and maybe we should be spending all of this money. I believe it is. I think this is absolutely 100% a new species. Now, I can't say whether that is an alien species or just a new species here on Earth that we never knew existed somehow, that was living with us 900 years ago. Yeah. But this is a new species, and so we're really committed and think that it's going to be the $750,000. But we can get started for just $250,000, just a $250,000. And at the end of a year, we'll be able to start saying, yes, it is, or no, it isn't.
Do you know, I can actually hear the excitement in your voice. Every time we've spoken with you about this project, the excitement that that comes over in your voice and the passion that you actually have for this. You know, it's like no matter how small the results are or the testing or whatever's going on, no matter how small it is, you know, you're proud of it, you're excited about it, you know what I mean, what it could potentially turn out to be.
Oh, I've always felt that way about this skull. I was in university when I heard about it the first time. I was all tracked. I was going to be a lawyer, but I really loved archaeology, and I did that as an undergraduate degree just because I really enjoyed it. I couldn't imagine making a career out of it. There was already so many archaeologists in Australia. So, I mean, I was all set. I was going to be a lawyer. I was going to do the whole career thing. And within just a couple of months of hearing about this, I put my studies on hold. I moved to London, and I was working on this full time. I just was absolutely amazed at the level of work that had been done on it with so little support and so little funding.
Yeah.
And under huge pressure from people that dismissed it because anyone dared to say maybe it might be an alien, regardless of the fact that anyone might be thinking it. You're not supposed to say things like that out loud when you're in science.
Yeah. So, Steve, you got a question?
Yeah, Amy, with all the stories you hear about people's own agenda, have you come across anything or anybody that's been maybe trying to stop you from doing this?
Well, we've never had visits from anyone in black suits and dark glasses, but there's plenty of resistance just within the flow of the way that the scientific community works at the moment. And it's not saying that these are evil people or anything. It's just everybody is out to make a living, and there's only so much funding available. And it is a dog-eat-dog world. I mean, everybody thinks of these, you know, kindly little scientists with their thick glasses off in their labs. But everybody in this field is an absolute tiger. They all have to get their funding to keep their labs going, to keep their families fed.
Yeah.
And it's easy to ridicule work that has a name like Starchild and that, you know, goes on paranormal radio TV and, you know, is willing to accept the possibility that something might be alien and refuse to dismiss that out of hand just because it maybe sounds crazy to some people. That is just an easy out for somebody that's looking for ways to get ahead of all of the competition out there. It's easier to make fun of us and try and stop us gaining access to the funding, which has been done very successfully, I must say. We've never received any government funding.
No.
So, I mean, that's the sort of resistance that we've had. We, at the very, very outset of the Starchild project, Lloyd Pye got up on stage at the Laughlin UFO conference in Nevada. It's a big conference that's held every year in America. At the time, I believe it was the biggest in America. And he got up on stage and he said, "I've got this skull, and I want everybody here to know that if anybody does come and try to take this off me from the government or whatever, I'm not going to fight it. I'm just going to let them have it. If I get shot or anything, you'll all know they just wanted to send a message because I will not put up a fight."
Yeah.
And he left the skull in a car, in a cardboard box, just in a public car park, a short walk from his apartment complex for several weeks, so that if anybody was going to come and take it, there wouldn't be any need for a confrontation. And every morning he got up and checked, and the box was still there.
Wow.
So we, you know, as much as we've made it easy if anybody was going to and made it clear that none of us are going to give up our lives for this, as excited as we are about it, it's just not worth dying over.
No, this is
ever since then, we really haven't been bothered at all, and Lloyd always believed that it was because of that moment of standing up and making it clear that we're not out with, you know, guns blazing trying to make a big deal. We just want to do science. We've always believed that has helped stave off those elements. I think the more you act like a conspiracy theorist, the more you're going to be treated like one and possibly persecuted because of that.
Yeah, because obviously when it comes to funding, especially from the private sector, it's a case of, well, if I give you this, what do I get out of it?
Yeah.
And at this present time, you can't really offer them anything.
Yeah, what is standing in your way anyway at the moment? Because obviously you don't have the money, you don't have the you've never had the resources to do all this, haven't you? You've been sort of like working on a shoestring.
Yes, we have. We've been lucky at the crucial points where we've needed, at times, a considerable influx of cash. You know, in the hundreds of thousands. Where we had a very generous private donor that just literally wrote a check for the DNA testing that was done in 2003, and we unfortunately just haven't found anybody with that sort of generosity since then. So it is absolutely just the money standing in the way. We have a lab lined up waiting to do the work. Now, this lab has been so excited about what we're doing and about the research that's been done so far. They've done all of this preliminary work for us for nothing.
Yeah.
It hasn't been full-time, obviously, but whenever they've had bits and pieces of chemicals left over from other jobs that it was just going to be thrown away or what have you, it's instead been used to do this work for us. So, you know, they've really been supportive, and they've been giving us as much time and resources as they can without having to cut into their bottom line. But they've reached the limit of what they can do. What we need to do is bring on full-time staff to do this research full-time, to actually get it done.
Yeah.
Just if we were to continue doing it the way we are, we might get the genome eventually, but it could take 15 years, and that's just ridiculous. We need to be able to pay for the time on the computers, on the equipment. We need to be able to pay for the staff. And we have been able to bring that cost down more than we ever imagined we possibly could, and we're offering more than we ever have or ever thought that we would. We're offering anyone that is willing, instead of just donating, to actually invest in this, a percentage of everything going forward. Now, as you say, there isn't really anything at the moment.
Yeah.
Once you have a genome, that genome, it's patentable. I mean, you can. There have been new laws in America about patenting the human genome, but this is a little bit different. You can patent this. You can use it to develop biotechnology. There are fibers inside the bone of this skull that no one's ever seen before. They act as a reinforcing structure inside the bone. We've already had interest from small biotech companies saying that they would like to develop this for us, but we know that that's pretty much the only leverage we've got at the moment to try and get an investor. So we've said no thank you just at the moment to them. But there is huge profit potential for this. It just takes an investor to come along, and you know, we don't want to give away the milk for free. We need to get the cow so that we can do this testing and actually have the science. It is hard going around for years, which I've been doing, telling people we don't have the complete DNA results yet.
Yeah.
Oh, we've been saying we'll get them for you for a while now, but I promise you we will actually get them one day as soon as we have the funding. It's hard to keep doing that. We don't want to keep doing that. We want to do the pure science here. We want to just be able to sit down and have the people that know what they're doing do the work, and have an investor that's happy, that can see the huge potential here, that can see that things like the Neanderthal genome is being used in everything from HIV research, cancer research. They're looking at all of the things that don't work properly in our DNA and looking at the Neanderthal DNA to see if there's sort of missing pieces of our puzzle that we can find in the Neanderthal to understand what is going wrong with us and ways that we can fix it. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about injecting humans with Neanderthal DNA, but there is a huge amount that can be done in the research sphere without actually talking about gene therapy, which is obviously quite a controversial subject, but completely taking gene therapy off the table. There is still a multi-million-dollar industry right now built up around the Neanderthal genome. Now, the Neanderthal is much older than the Star Child skull. It's much more different than the Star Child, different from human than the Star Child in terms of its physical structure, but the Star Child's genome right now is looking to be wildly different from the Neanderthal. Some people have even said it's almost like the Star Child is a more evolved sort of a human, having a much bigger brain and things like that. So the potential for that sort of research is much bigger, we think, in the Star Child than in the Neanderthal. So really it's just a matter of finding somebody that is a little bit quirky and a little bit eccentric and has enough money to be willing to take this sort of a risk and this sort of a gamble and invest in something that's not a blue chip stock and that's...
Yeah, well, Amy, David Lloyd has actually come up with a suggestion for that one, and I kind of agree, because he is a bit quirky, and Richard Branson might be interested in something like that.
You never know.
He does kind of like these things, and he is big into space and things like that as well. But he's also said, of course, if governments are already aware of the alien presence, that they're going to be in no rush to substantiate that this skull is actually alien.
I completely agree with you on the second point that the government's certainly in no hurry. We've actually wondered before whether they're not letting us sort of stumble, fumble and fall and slowly get there in the end, because they are aware that aliens are out there. They want that information somehow to become public in a way that's not going to cause a massive panic, that's going to allow them to have their deniability so they don't have to stand up and say, oops, we were lying for years and years and years, don't attack us. We've got a very non-threatening 900-year-old skull. It died here 900 years ago and Armageddon hasn't happened yet. No horrible retributions come for us. This is not a scary alien. This is like nice, friendly, happy alien face. And that maybe is exactly what the governments want for alien disclosure. That might be the reason we've had a pass all these years and haven't had any intervention by the guys in suits. Maybe is because they want us to succeed, just really slowly and bit by bit, building gradually the grassroots. But to the point about Richard Branson, I absolutely agree there as well. I think that he would love this project if he could get to hear about it. Yeah. We've tried to get through his people on several occasions. We've tried everything from offering the Star Child naming rights for his space program and using that as a tie-in. We've tried everything we can think of, and we can't get past. I'm not even sure how far away from him we are. It's probably like his pet dog secretary is the closest we've been able to get. But we are trying. We have tried just about every celebrity you can think of, Goldie Hawn, Kurt Russell, Shirley MacLaine, everybody that's got a history of being a little bit quirky, and then just everybody else that we could possibly get a name for. We tried Spielberg, we've tried James Cameron. Spielberg actually sent back our letter unopened. It said Star Child skull on the envelope, and it sent back a letter unopened saying we're not accepting anything unsolicited. And then a few months later they announced the Crystal Skull, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, and we believe that they were just turning down anything that could possibly have skull on it, because there's a thing that happens in Hollywood sometimes where people sue after any sort of movie or something comes out and say, oh, you stole my idea because I told you about a skull and then you came out with this other skull thing and you stole my idea, so give me money. So we think maybe that was part of the problem. So we tried approaching him again several times after that and have been rebuffed every time. So we really have gone down every road more and less travelled, trying to get through to these people.
Well, if we ever manage to get Richard Branson on the show, we'll definitely put it forward for you.
Please do. I'm sure his people are calling you as we speak.
Oh dear. So obviously, that's what's standing in your way, and this is the first time you've actually announced it, isn't it?
Yes, this is the first time that we have announced that on a radio station that our testing cost has come down to just $250,000 a year, which, it's a huge amount of money. I'm not going to pretend it. I would like to have $250,000 a year to throw away. I would be happy with $25,000 a year to throw away, frankly. But $250,000 a year is nothing for some people. There are people who spend that on a weekend and don't think twice about it. And I can't imagine any weekend that could be as amazing as writing yourself into history books. No matter what the answer we get on this skull is, it is a part of history. whether it's an alien, whether it's a new human species, whether it's a human that has survived deformities that no human previously was thought to be able to survive. No matter what, that's part of history. So we have the cost of testing reduced. We are offering any potential investor a percentage of everything across the board: patents, future movie deals, books, museum rights, absolutely anything you can think of to do with this skull. Any money that we make in future, they have a piece of it. I mean, no one offers a deal like that, but we are, because we need to get this answer now. We need to know once and for all what it is, and we need the public to know that as well. And if that's not enough, anybody that connects us to that investor, now I mean makes the phone call, makes the introduction, bees the bridge to get us to the person that actually puts the money into it, we're going to pay that person $250,000 cash. Now this is something that our COO Matthew Brownstein came up with. We have offered finder's fees in the past, but this is something that Matthew has offered to cover as an upfront cost, to make sure that that finder gets paid, and that this is a non-bogus, it's not hokey pokey, oh, we never said that. This is absolutely, there is $250,000 in cash in a vault waiting for whoever it is that introduces us to that investor. And the reason we aren't spending that $250,000 on the research is, the reason we're not spending the $25,000 on research, the reason we're not spending that $25,000 on research is because it will not get us anywhere near where we need to go. The lab has to do a 1-year contract with these staff members. They need the $250,000 to start that contract, to start the ball rolling. If we use that smaller amount of money, we can't start the big DNA testing. The best use that we can think of right now is to put that up as a cash reward for anybody that can get us what we really need, which is the $250,000 to get that first year of testing done.
Well, some of the guys on the in the chat room are coming up with names. And and some of them are even saying they'll start making phone calls for you. But one of the names is probably a possibility, to be honest. It's David Icke. He has obviously got a few quid himself, but he's also got plenty of contacts. So he could be of some help to you.
Well, that is someone that we'll definitely get in touch with. I've been in touch with David Icke in the past. I will definitely make sure that I touch base with him. But just to all of your listeners and anybody else that hears about this, you do need to actually be the person that makes the introduction to whoever. Unfortunately, just giving us an email address that you found on the internet isn't quite enough to get the reward. But by all means, write the first email.
I think they're just throwing out suggestions for you yourself.
No one's claiming anything, but someone's just said that at the last count, David Icke himself is worth $15 million.
Yeah, so as I say, I think they're just throwing suggestions for you to try, to be honest with you.
I just want to make it clear, I would love nothing more than to be on this show in a few months' time saying, right, remember that program back on the 26th? One of your listeners just got the $25,000 because they picked up the phone and they made some calls and they were able to get through to someone and it all worked out. So I don't want to or send us names by all means. I would be surprised if there's anyone that we hadn't contacted before, but we haven't spoken to David Icke since the cost has come down, so that was a great one. Keep them coming.
Yeah, it would be nice if there was somebody that you could come on and say it was from our show. That would be brilliant.
I would really genuinely love that. This is hard on our sleeve time. We have been at this 15 years now come December. Now that is a long time in anybody's life. I was 21 when I got involved with this. I've just had my 30th birthday. This is a huge piece of a lot of people's lives, and we have been working and we've been struggling, and the cost is not really going to come down much from where it is now. The technology is fully developed. There's not going to be a great announcement next year. Hey, now it only costs $20. That just doesn't happen. You can sequence fresh DNA. That's a completely different kettle of fish. But to do ancient DNA, we're pretty much already at the apex of the technology. The cost of it has already reduced. Now it's just down to the fact that you do have to pay these experts to be on deck. And it is a full-time job, and it does take years. So, this is our bottom line. This is our rock bottom. We can't do anything else. The money that we've raised ourselves isn't enough to make this happen. We need help. And we're not asking for a handout. We're asking for an investor. And we're offering a heck of a lot more than they're going to get anywhere else on Wall Street or in any other company or any other investment. I mean, this is the best we can do, people. If this doesn't work, then I am out of ideas. And, maybe someone else on my team is sharper than I am and they've got something left up their sleeves, but I don't. I'm tapped out. This is it. This is the best deal we can offer, and this is the best position we've ever been in. And if we can't find an investor now, there is just something wrong in the world, because this is real. This is a 900-year-old skull. You can see it. You can touch it. The research has been done up one side and down the other. We've got a list as long as your arm of experts saying they've never seen anything like it, or they think it's not human, or they think this requires further investigation, or whatever. They know, we know, this has to happen now.
Yeah. We're being asked, can you just repeat what the money's for again? So exactly what's the money for? Could you please repeat again? So the 250K a year.
250,000 pays for year one of complete DNA testing on the skull. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of different machines that they use, and I'm going to get the names of them wrong. I think it's the MSEC, I think it's the Illumina. There's basically a whole lab that I've been in, and it's all set up. Have you ever seen on movies, there's the white room and everybody's in the white suits and they've got the little booties on? It is literally like that. It is just pristine. Okay. The lab has actually built a new wing that they've fitted out with all of this DNA technology, in part because they were so excited about what we were doing with the Star Child. They wanted to make sure they had all the best and greatest equipment ready to go. So this lab is just absolutely full of equipment. The $250,000 pays for 1 year of use of that equipment, 1 year's use of all of the chemicals that are needed to do the actual DNA testing and run the equipment. It's for the time that's needed on a computer system cluster, which actually does all the computations that used to have to be done by hand, and thankfully now a lot of it can be done on the computer. But once the computer does its thing, you've still got to have experts that come in, and these are multiple PhD guys that come in and put all the pieces together. So there's the lab techs, which are still ridiculously qualified, but they just sort of do the day-to-day work and get the results. And then you've got the doctors that come in after that, and they put it all together. So $250,000 pays for 1 year of everything that it takes to sequence the entire genome within the Star Child skull. We won't get the whole genome in 1 year. We estimate that'll take 3 years. But at the end of 1 year, we'll be able to say, right, the results we have so far are X percentage different from human, and whoever the investor is at the end of the year can say, oh, well, I don't want to keep funding it, or they can say, wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Here's the other $500,000 that you need. Let's finish this thing.
Right. Okay. And they obviously get a percentage of the profits.
They get a percentage of the profits. That's really what's so different about this. In the past, we've offered a percentage of the documentary deal, or we've offered a percentage of a patent for a certain thing. This is a percentage across the board. Now, at this stage, we are open to negotiation, but we're putting 30% on the table. But frankly, and I'm saying this out to the universe, if they say, oh, it's 35 or it's no deal, here's 35, no problem. Yeah. I think that we're going to want to keep 50% just because, after this happens, they've got their percentage, but there's still more money that's needed to go on and do the actual development. There's research and development, R&D. This is the research part. After that, before you can actually make money, you've got to do more research and development to get to where it's actually generating profit.
Right.
So unless that investor is also going to want to put more money in afterwards, they're going to understand that we want to keep a certain percentage in reserve to pay to the next guy so that they make more money for everybody. You know, it's just common business sense stuff. But, you know, as I've said, this is bottom of the barrel, make a deal time. We really, really want this to happen. We're in a situation that we might never be in again. If we can't make it happen now, it's do or die. You know, I hate to say die, but we're getting there. We have to make this happen now.
Yeah, and anyone who connects you to an investor, that's not just offering you an email or a telephone number, that's somebody who's connects you to somebody who's said, yes, we will do this, blah, blah, blah. They will be paid a finder's fee of $25,000.
That is correct. $25,000 is sitting in a safe right now. You can have it in whatever form you want.
Right.
You know, pounds, euro, whatever, to the equivalent of USD 25,000.
Yeah. So basically, what they need to do is contact somebody who may be interested. And if he's interested, then they need to contact you direct and say, so and so told me this, that, and the other, really, and then pass whoever found it on to you, so you know, sort of thing.
Yeah, or whoever, you know, gets on the phone and, you know, sake of argument, someone else gets through to Steven Spielberg because their cousin's sister's brother was the teacher of the Steven Spielberg's nephew, whatever. So that person talks to Steven Spielberg. He says, oh, well, I might be interested in that. Let's set up a meeting. That person can either give Steven Spielberg our contact information, which would be great, or that person can contact us and say, hi, Steven Spielberg would like to set up a meeting with you. Let me set this up for you. And that person is now our best friend forever and ever and ever. And the minute that Steven Spielberg signs his contract and his money goes into escrow, they will be standing there in receipt of whichever form they would like, a little envelope with a check, a suitcase full of notes, whatever makes them happy. We will be so ecstatic, I cannot tell you.
Yeah, and Steven Spielberg's just an example, but if he's willing and he's listening, then great. And just on the subject of who to contact, where would they need to send the details, or where would they need to contact?
Well, the easiest thing to do is to email contact@starchildproject.com.
Right, okay, you've got that, guys?
So that is contact@starchildproject.com.
There you go, as easy as that. So that's all you need to do, Steve.
Amy, for excuse me.
Oh, he's got a cough.
Water went down the wrong way. For everything you know at the moment, where do you hope this is going to go? Personally.
Oh, that's a tough one. I would really love to see this proven as a new species. I think if we can prove that it's an alien, that would be great. But, you know, realistically, I'm confident we'll be able to prove this is a new species. Now, humans are supposed to be the only human-like thing walking around on Earth for tens of thousands of years. The Neanderthal, you're talking sort of 25, 30,000 years ago. I don't know if you heard about the hobbits in Indonesia, sort of little pygmy people that they're like an offshoot of our family tree, but they were still kind of human-like. They died off about 18,000 years ago. So 18,000 years ago to now, it's supposed to be just us here. That's according to all of mainstream science, according to all of the textbooks on biology, according to evolutionary science. That's it. It's just us. The Starchild skull is only 900 years old. So 18,000 years to just 900 years ago.
So
we have got a new human-like species living alongside humans, or at least being buried alongside humans, living in the same place, drinking the same water, breathing the same air. That is rewriting history books. Now, I am a complete nerd. I make no apologies for it. I geek tattooed across my forehead. I love this stuff. I love that I am part of something that is going to rewrite the history books. Think of Charles Darwin coming out with evolution after so many years of it being creation theory. You know, it is on that scale. What we think of as evolution can't be right because we have this other species living alongside us. Now, either that means that somehow
kind of like the missing link.
Yeah, so somehow it's like the missing link, but it's more advanced than us. Its brain is a third larger than our brain. How can that be the guy before us? You don't evolve to get a smaller brain.
It couldn't be a species of another kind of human then that died out.
Exactly. Now, I mean, you have things like the coneheads in Peru, which are another example that could be a species of human-like beings living alongside humans that we just kind of ignore. But if we can prove the star child is one of these species living alongside us, then we have to consider the coneheads. We have to consider every other quirky skull that's in the back of a museum's cupboards because they got sick and tired of having to explain it to alien enthusiasts. All of those suddenly have to get pulled out and they have to get taken seriously. You know, this is an enormous, enormous discovery. You've heard of OOP art, out-of-place artifacts. These are things, you know, imagine like finding a pocket watch in ancient Rome. You know, it shouldn't be there, but it's there. You know, we found it in an archaeological dig. The soil around it wasn't disturbed. How the heck did it get here? Unless Doctor Who is realer than we think, how did it get here? So to have an actual debate about these things. When I was an archaeology student, I had a lecturer that sat us down the first week of my first semester and said, right, here's the thing you have to understand about archaeology, and I'm not making this up, I wish it was. Here's the thing you have to understand about archaeology. Anytime you find anything that doesn't make sense, you should assume it's a religious object and not waste time trying to explain it because you'll never have an answer. How many tens of thousands of shelves are there marked unknown religious object that could hold the knowledge of the ages, and we're just too ignorant and too stupid and too foolish and too willful to look at them from outside the box. If this skull can open us to outside the box and open all of these forgotten shelves to proper research, that would be my ideal science.
There's a couple of guys on the chat room here, Andy, and they're saying that maybe the Scientologists they fund the ancient alien TV series, and they're always trying to prove of aliens out there somewhere. But I may sound a bit stupid here, but just because it's got a bigger brain, does that necessarily mean that it knows how to use it?
Well, it is a generalization, and you're quite right that I shouldn't say categorically it's more intelligent than us just because it has a bigger brain. But generally speaking, the bigger the brain, the smarter you are.
Yeah.
Now, it's not just the brain that is different about this skull. Well, without getting too technical, the bit at the base of your brain where it attaches into your spine, there's a part of your brain, it's about the size of your fist, and it's called your cerebellum. And that's where all of your motor skills happen. Everything from breathing, walking, talking, doing all that stuff. If your cerebellum isn't right, you are pretty much in trouble. If your cerebellum gets crushed or damaged, your body stops breathing automatically. I mean, it's a big deal. In the Star Child skull, the shape of the skull is really different from ours. We've got a little ledge inside our skull that keeps the weight of our brain off that cerebellum. The Star Child skull doesn't have a ledge there. It's got a tiny little bump, but nothing that would really support the weight of the brain. And the shape of the skull is different such that the entire weight of the brain is pushing down on that cerebellum. It's like a funnel that comes down at that point with the whole weight pushing down on it. Now, if you or I had a skull like that and we tried to whack our brain in it, that cerebellum would be crushed and damaged and we'd die pretty quickly. But this being didn't. There was something about its brain. It's almost like the brain matter was firmer than ours or somehow supported differently than ours. So not only is its brain a third larger than ours, but it seems to be made of something different or supported differently within its skull itself. So, you know, this is not just one step of evolution. This is multiple steps different from where we are. Now, throughout the animal kingdom, the bigger your brain, the more intelligent you are, the smarter you are, the more things you can do. And that is because there's a pretty direct correlation between the number of connections that your brain can make within itself to develop complex thoughts and how big it has to be to accommodate all those connections. So this being's got a weird cerebellum. Its frontal lobe is sort of bigger and more pronounced than ours, which has led some people to speculate maybe it had some sort of telepathic ability. Mm-hmm. It is just so different than us in every way. You are right that it is possible that it had this much bigger brain and somehow didn't use it, but it wouldn't make sense in everything else that we know about the way the natural world works.
Yeah. Have you a couple of questions altogether here? Viscount is asking whether it's possibly a natural deformity. Andy has asked him, do we know how old the child was when he died? And I was going to ask, is the skull you got actually intact? You've got all of it. There's nothing missing.
Right. I'll answer these back to front. So, is everything intact about the skull? Absolutely not. I'm afraid not. We had detailed scans done of the skull before a micron of it was cut off for testing, so we know exactly what it looked like beforehand. And we have had replicas done. It's called a stereolithographic copy. It's sort of where you take a scan and feed the scan into a computer, and it sort of prints out a copy for you. It's like an early version of 3D printing. Mm-hmm. So we have that. We know exactly what it would have looked like. But that being said, there is a large amount of the skull missing. We haven't actually measured it, but I would estimate it's getting pretty close to 10%. In the early days, you used to need a lot of bone to do anything. And we had such trouble finding DNA. Remember I said there were 6 failed attempts to find the nuclear DNA, and there was another test before that was just a complete disaster, which used even more bone. So, I mean, there's been a huge amount of bone taken for testing. The skull, now we just need little tiny bits, almost sort of like you take a nail file and shave little bits off of it to do the testing. So the skull shouldn't really be much more damaged than it is now, but they did need to take a huge amount for earlier testing. So the question before that was, how old was it? We don't know that for sure. We've got conflicting experts on that point. Most of our dental experts think it was a child aged between 5 and 6. Now, we've got a small piece of the upper jawbone called the maxilla, which has got some teeth that are erupted, and then it's got some teeth up inside the bone waiting to come down, like when a child gets its adult teeth down. So those teeth are the sort that you would expect to see in a child aged 5 or 6. Now, having said that, the teeth which are already down in the mouth look more like adult teeth than children's teeth. They are the children's teeth. It doesn't have the premolars. It's just got the children's molars. But the development of them looks more adult. They've got extremely robust roots. The enamel on them is very even. They've grown as though they were adult teeth. And they've been worn down way more than any child of 5 or 6 could grind them down. We know this being had very small chewing muscles. You can see where the muscles attach on the bone of the skull, and we can see that they were very small muscles. And the amount of wear, you would have to have ridiculously strong chewing muscles and just be eating grit and sand all day long, just grinding your teeth 24/7 to get that level of wear in just 5 or 6 years. So that has led some experts to think, well, maybe it must be quite a bit older. And there are some what's called Wormian bones. It's just to do with the way the plates of the skull join together, which are more common in fully grown adults as well. So we've got a little bit of conflict there. The bottom line is we think it's possible this being could have lived much, much longer than us, hundreds of years. And maybe if you live hundreds of years, you need to grow multiple sets of teeth like a shark. It makes sense. There are examples, rare examples, of humans who grow more than one set of teeth or just have some of the teeth in their mouth grow in more than once. It does happen. It's somewhere in our genes. That had to come from somewhere. So maybe this being just has that ability naturally and normally, and that means maybe we are never going to know exactly how old it is. But the ages range from 5 or 6 years old to hundreds of years old.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah.
Now,
Are the teeth the same composite as ours? And
yes, it's
has anybody actually sorted out the markers on the skull to try and figure out what it would have looked like when it had skin and everything?
yes, absolutely. The teeth are normal human-like teeth. The bone is made of the same stuff our bone is made of, calcium hydroxyapatite. The teeth are made out of the same stuff, dentine and enamel. You know, it's the same basic composition, but just really odd in other ways. Now, we've had several artists over the years do reconstructions, frankly, with varying degrees of accuracy. We used to just put up on the website absolutely everything that anybody did, and now we've just whittled it down to the few that were the most professional and we believe the most accurate. And it's surprising how similar they all look. And I think that just goes to show that they are working with the markers in the bone and building up a face based on that. But in all cases, it ends up with very unusual eyes because it had such shallow eye sockets. It ends up with a very bulbous looking head just because that's the way that the skull is. And it ends up with a very small mouth and ears lower down on the head than ours are, again, just because that's what the skull says it has to have. And it's been done with various different skin tones. We've no way of knowing what skin color it would have had or eye color or anything like that. But it certainly looks very unusual in all cases.
Amy, it's been fantastic talking to you over the past year or so on your progress, and even though I come into it a bit late, but obviously catching us up on what's been happening and what you've done and what you're hoping to do. And I hope in the future that you'll keep us posted with any more developments, because it's really a fantastic story and project that you're actually doing. I do love the updates, if you understand what I mean.
Oh, absolutely. And I can only apologise abjectly and profusely for my technical problems and my tardiness this evening.
Oh, you're
But
okay.
it is always a pleasure, and I do hope that you'll forgive me and have me back on. There was just one more point that someone had asked, and that was whether or not it's a deformity. And I just wanted to mention that we have had it rigorously studied for any sort of deformity, and it doesn't match anything currently in the books. I mean, this has been done over the course of years. You can go on our website, starchildproject.com, and you can read reports by experts like Dr. Ted Robinson, and I mean, there's a whole panel of them that did a detailed analysis on that, so that all of that information is there. And thank you very much to all of your listeners for their questions.
It's been great talking to you again. We could talk to you for hours and hours, but I wouldn't like to put you through that.
Well, if you ever want to, I promise I'll be on time next time, and I do apologise again.
You will be back on again, don't worry. So let us know any updates. You know, if there's anything that's major happens or anything, then we'll schedule you for another show in 2015. It'll be brilliant to have you back on and find out what's going on.
Thank you very much, and I hope I'll be telling you that one of your listeners has claimed our finder's fee.
And if it isn't one of our listeners, I hope you'll tell us who it is anyway. Well, not who it is, but where they actually came from. So that'll be brilliant.
Absolutely, I will do. Thank you again very much.
I wish you all the best of luck. Bye-bye.
So much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Amy.
Bye-bye.
So that was Amy Vickers. Wow, guys, you heard it here first. There is a finder's fee of $25,000 sitting in a vault waiting for somebody to connect them with an investor. Not just an email or a phone call or whatever. You need to contact these people, and if they say yes, you've
actually got to make the connection.
Yeah, it's as I say, it's vital now. They really are, desperate for this being done. So she's just put on there, thanks very much, really enjoyed being on with you. So we love having Amy on the show, don't we?
We do. It's one of them things that you can actually follow and find out where it's going and hopefully get an end result.
and as I say, I'm hoping that they do get some sort of funding and what have you. And if there is an investor out there, contact them. So that's what you need to do. And somebody did put it up earlier. I think it was what's the name? Yeah, it's contact at starchild.com. So good luck out there, whoever's listening. If you are lucky enough to find a finder's fee, please remember that you heard it on the KTPF Community Talk Show first. That's all I need to say. And just let us know whether you were lucky enough to be able to help there. That's all we ask, isn't it, darling?
Yeah, just keep us in the loop.
Yes. So well, that's about it for our guest. She came on sooner or later. We can forgive her for her clock, I must admit. Yeah. So, but yeah. So we're gonna have a quick break.
The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store is a one-stop shop for all of your ghost hunting gadgetry needs. Run by ghost hunters for ghost hunters, the shop is filled with all of the latest in investigation equipment, shipped in from all around the world, from high-quality digital dictaphones to EMF pumps, infrared illuminators to laser grid pens, CCTV equipment to data loggers. All of our equipment has already been imported, so you can buy it safe in the knowledge that there will be no hidden costs. And with our postage promise, you'll never pay more than the actual postage price. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.
You're listening to the KTPF Community Talk Show with Steve and Suzanne Taggart, covering the supernatural, the paranormal, and other strange phenomena to keep the paranormal friendly.
Yeah, welcome back. We are here at www.ktpf.co.uk, and I just want to let you know that I don't know whether you remember a while ago we had a young man called Pablo Solares Acubel, if that's how you pronounce it, or Acebel, on the show, talking about his new book at the time, which was the 6th of November. Well, apparently it's due to be a film in 2016, but he's asked me to let you know of his latest press release that his other book, The House of Good Intention, will be set for release this Halloween. The story weaves around the passing of the husband of a Spain's richest woman, who echoes of feminism, gay romances, luxury, and power as influenced by the devil. He describes his up-and-coming novel as old school, classy, and with a clear message: trust yourself. Literature is not a tool to communicate, but to construct worlds so readers can deconstruct them in their own way. Solares says, "My novel is old school, a good read set in an exotic environment. You can hear the house speaking while reading it," recalls Solares. The House of Good Intent is available already to pre-order on Amazon worldwide. This is his 5th release with only 3 years in the business, after 2 traditional contracts, and selling his first novella's rights to the film production, plus being commissioned as a Spanish translation by many US and UK authors. Solares has recently opened his own bilingual publishing house along with his brother Daniel. Edisonians, Camelot, if that's right, Edisons or something, Camelot Books. After my degree, I wanted to do something different. I am happy between books, but they are not my life, adds Solares. Solares holds a degree in English Studies and Translation from the University of Oviedo, Asturias in Spain. So if you're into books, there's one there, and good to see it come out in a film. So he came on our show last year, talk about the 6th of November, so that's coming to be a film as well. So good on him, well done. So very very nice to hear people come on the show and start something and get recognition, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, I've seen this.
Have I seen what?
We've seen this.
Oh no!
We've seen this young lad before.
Yes, we have.
But that is reminiscent of the style chart.
Yeah, it is really, yeah. So it's something that you know, it could be some sort of thing like that. You know what I mean? It's one thing maybe we could ask her about if we remember next time to see whether it is that disease. I can't remember what it was called actually, but it begins with a P. I know that much. But yeah, that would be interesting.
Progeria syndrome.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, there's a young girl that I follow in America that's got that, Adele Rose or Adelia Rose.
Yeah.
So you never know, it could be that. That's it, progeria syndrome. So you never know. So hey, could be possible. But they seem to know what they're doing with this DNA stuff. So you know.
Yeah, that particular link was suggesting that is what the star child is.
Right, I see.
That's
I think we mentioned that to Vicky only before.
That's their but that is a deformation of the skull, and she's actually said that there isn't one.
No, no, this is it.
Can't find anything that's.
Yeah.
Having said that, if they've got DNA that doesn't match anything that's here on Earth at the present time.
Well, this is it. So, but as I say, it'd be interesting to know how things go with them.
Yes.
And maybe, touch wood.
Especially if they get some funding.
Yeah, funding. You know, touch wood, they get some sort of conclusion to
this.
Yes,
so come on, all you guys out there, if you happen to be rich, which I'm sure there's lots out there,
and into something quirky,
and you can help, please do.
And don't forget, you're going to get some percentage out of
yes, they are offering at the present time 35%. 30%. 30% of anything that comes from it. Because obviously once they've actually proved what the skull is or isn't through all the DNA stuff that they're running, then they've got to move forward and actually use it somewhere along the line.
This is it. Right, okay, I think it's time for the events.
We've got all the news right here. Don't go away.
Fed up of wading through the activities and events that other advertisers include? Find just what you're looking for at paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory. Right, well, all this week there's quite a lot going on for Halloween. They've got the Blackpool Zoo Halloween Ghost Tour with supernatural events. Also Blackpool Ghost Walks as well on Halloween. You've got Spooktaculars at Spectacular Nights is at the Struts Community Centre, doing the ghost hunt, mediumship, tarot, palm and tea leaf reading. There's also a Halloween ghost hunt at the Gloucester Blackfriars Priory with Personal Paranormal. UK Shadow Seekers are at Hay Hall in Wigan. From the Other Side are doing a Halloween ghost hunt at the Griffin Inn in Barks Island, Halifax. And there's also the North Pier Theatre Halloween ghost hunt with supernatural events as well. But you can find out more at paranormaleventsforyou.com. So check out the one-stop paranormal directory for more investigations and events, available now. Paranormaleventsforyou.com also offers banner advertising for only £10 per year. See our website for more details. Paranormaleventsforyou.com, your one-stop paranormal directory.
The UK's first ever annual Paracon, November the 22nd and 23rd. This is guaranteed to excite all levels within the paranormal community. This event will showcase some of the world's best paranormal personalities. covering all paranormal genres, including the ultimate paranormal roundtable. There'll be stalls, prizes, a charity auction, as well as a VIP party, plus much, much more. Paracon UK's campaign is to unite to honour. Proceeds from this event will go to support the Wounded Warrior Project and TruePaid. Don't miss out. Visit www.paraconuk.com for details. Again, that's www.paraconuk.com.
Yeah, and also on the October the 30th to November the 2nd, the Scottish Paranormal Festival is on, and there's international lecturers, experts in their field attending the lecture. It's the biggest event in the country, backed by Phenomena magazine, with Peter Broffan's movie producer of Rob Roy and others, and of course even Dan Aykroyd is helping out. Details and free brochure can be obtained from www.paranormalscotland.com. So that's what's happening in the next week. So if you're in the area, so if you fancy doing these conferences, there's quite a few coming over this way at the moment, isn't there?
Dave Lowe's just put something on. He said via Amy Vickers, I'm trying to get a message to Richard regarding funding for the Star Child School since Lord Pye died. Work has still been going forward, and we are at an impasse to complete the DNA.
Well, you never know.
Because David has a
connection there.
He has a connection on Richard's page, so he's trying to get through that way.
Well, I'm sure when he was working at City Talk Radio, he saw quite a few people.
I'm sure he did.
He shook hands with quite a few people, so I'm sure he's got the contacts there somewhere. So that, as I say, it was a very interesting, conversation we had with Amy, as usual. And it's nice of her to choose our show to announce it first.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
I do indeed. Obviously, they'll be trying to get it out there in many ways, as much as they can.
This is it. So.
And as David said, we can only try.
Well, this is it. Yeah.
We can put it out there and hope that someone's going to pick it up and run.
Yeah. So, well, on Friday, as I said, we're doing Hay Hall.
Yes.
And apparently...
I'm looking forward to that because they dress it all up.
Yeah, and apparently we've got a radio station, Capital FM Manchester, coming.
Yes.
So they're supposed to be joining us for the night. So that should be fun. And then Saturday...
I hope.
What?
I really hope.
Something good happens.
Something good happens to them.
Yeah. But
because at least that way they can't take the mick.
And then Saturday we're doing an outside one for a couple of hours.
Yes, we have an outside one also for charity, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct.
So
Gorse Hall.
We don't get many charities, and then all of a sudden we get two in a row, just like a bus.
Yeah, this is
like
it.
the buses.
So, and then the week after that, we're celebrating at Morecambe Winter Gardens.
Yes, that'll be our
seventh year in the
anniversary.
Business.
7th year as UK Shadow Seekers, may I say?
Yeah, so saying something, isn't it?
Yes, still going.
Yeah, we survived 7 years.
Yeah, I mean it is a survival. It is good. It's I mean, how many groups have we seen come and go along the way?
I know, this is it.
I mean, even some of the big ones that have been going for years, and for their own reasons, one way or another, they've just decided to stop all of a sudden.
Yeah, definitely.
So 7 years is good.
Yeah. Right, so it looks as though we're coming to the end of the show, so that means it's time for...
Coming soon.
Yay! So, and the week after that, we've got you annoying us and eating our food. Yeah, all right. Right, okay. That means John's going to miss you because he'll be going home on the Monday before. So, anyway, next week, a bit of change to the originally advertised because John Blackburn is unfortunately, he's away all weekend in Scotland, so it would have been a bit of a rush to him to come back on the show for the Sunday night. So we've changed him around a bit. We've got Anthony Pimlott and Paul Huggett from Cosmic and Conscious Truths, otherwise known as CCT. CCT. They will be live via Skype talking about higher states of consciousness and the relation to ETs. CCT are a non-profitable organisation looking to help humanity, teaching the importance of awareness and hosting contact events around the UK for others to join in and witness intelligent spacecraft that they vector in through human-initiated contact, also known as CE5. Working with CCT is former CSETI Dr. Joseph Burks. CCT has dived deep into the art of meditation and have videos and photos of many crafts. On air, Anthony and Paul will discuss the importance of consciousness, potential possibilities for humanity, and the secrets that the government do not want us to know. So I actually spoke to him about this because I thought everybody meditates. Yeah. Right. It wouldn't have been if we didn't have to change it around, Andy. Right. Everybody meditates. Yeah. Well, most people meditate. You know what I mean? So I said to him, do we go on a higher conscious with that?
Everybody does to an extent. They may not do it to as much as most of us do, but yeah.
You know, and I was just wondering. I spoke to him about this, and I basically said to him that we meditate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was wondering whether, you know, it's possible to actually reach that higher consciousness when you're doing that. Is it the same sort of thing? You know, so it'd be good to find out. But he says that he will discuss the importance of reaching a higher level of consciousness and how to contact extraterrestrials. So maybe.
Yeah, but
something interesting.
Something new coming through.
You know, so you never know.
Yeah.
See, this is it. It's also, if you think about it, Steve, it's also something that Ashley's always said. You know, when we meditate or when we contact spirit, are we actually contacting aliens?
Yeah.
So,
well, Andy's just said that meditation slows down the higher cognitive functions in the brain.
right, okay. So we'll have to see what they have to say about it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's people in the chat room that'll have something to say about it.
Absolutely.
So, you know, so it's like, as I say here, so we meditate to allow us to engage in spirit contact as a ghost group, for instance. Is it always a wonder whether our spirit guides are actually aliens? It's a theory we have come across, which we have, really, haven't we?
It is, yeah. It is a theory come across.
So it'd be interesting to talk about that and find out what they're all about. So
yeah. And
something more to learn.
And talking about John, what do we have a new date for him to come in?
Yes, we do. It's it's a date that Andy's up. 2 seconds, I'll just tell you. 16th of November, not September.
16th of November.
Yeah,
Mr.
he's
John
coming
Blackman.
here with the Englishman. Andy Mercer will also be live in the hub.
He will.
He will. So, but in between the two, we have Gerard Gardner.
Oh yes, the gentleman that's actually
in Japan.
In Japan, but he's talking about the Egyptian stuff, isn't he?
Yeah. So he's talking about the Egyptians, what they don't want you to know. So that could be interesting.
Yes,
as well.
He's talking about a lot of stuff that the actual written history has decided not to tell us about.
Yes. So that's what we've got coming up. Okay. So we hope you've enjoyed the show, and remember,
This is where it's at.
Every Sunday, 8 p.m. at www.ktpf.co.uk. We hope you enjoyed tonight, and we hope to see you next week. Thank you for listening to the KTPF Community Talk Show, recommended by Phenomena Magazine, the UK's leading online publication, and
The KTPF Community Talk Show is sponsored by Cregennos Castle, South Wales, one of the most haunted castles in Wales. For more information on ghostly and ghastly events, including Fright Nights, all-night investigations, and hen parties, contact www.mosthauntedcastle.com.
yeah, so until next time, remember,
Keep the paranormal friendly.
Good night and
Good night, everyone.
To see in the night, to measure the spike, to see how cold it's been. I buy my kit so I won't forget the ghosties that I have seen. The Paranormal Intelligence Gathering Services Ghost Store. So visit www.the-pigs.co.uk/ghost store.